to the agenda additions or changes. Mr. Long.
Thank you, Mayor. Too many words on item N2, discussion items. 2 says consideration of approval of a contract with Cypress Engine Works for the engine generator. Just strike of approval. This is just consideration of a contract.
All right, with that change, is there a motion to approve this agenda?
So moved.
Boots with the first.
Second.
And Spear with the second.
Leeper.
Yes.
McNeil. Boots.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Spear.
Yes.
All right, now moving on to the unscheduled communications. If there's anybody who would like to address the City Council, please make your way to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Garvin Nienhuis. I live at 407 West 3rd Street. But the place next to me at 403 West 3rd is going to be a small mountain of trash and junk. First of all, they cleaned out the whole inside of the house, piled it in back, and then they come with a box spring and mattress, which is being all soaked up and start to smell after a while. And then they brought a futon besides. And if it stays out there long enough, you're going to have rats and mice coming in. I'd just like to address this to you.
Yes. Though that address had a mailing on March 21st, and Tanya can explain the rest of the procedure with you, how much time they get to rectify that.
They have 10 days to rectify that, as of March 31st at 5 p.m. If that is not rectified, Monday morning I will be calling a contractor to clean it up.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing that there are no more unscheduled communications, we'll move on to the consent agenda, which these can be passed with one motion. It's the City Council minutes from March 13th, the February Treasurers and Investment Report, Library minutes from February 17th, Library Director's Report of February of 2017, and the Tipton Development Director's Report. Is there any that need to be pulled out to be discussed? Seeing there is none, is there a motion to pass this?
So moved.
Spear with the first and Anderson with the second.
McNeil.
Yes.
Boots.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Spear.
Yes.
Leeper.
All right, so now moving on to the ordinance approval / amendment. This would be the second reading of this. Mr. Long.
Sure. This is the matter that was brought to you at the last meeting, that it's really a safety issue. It is to preclude the use of this more vulnerable gas supply tubing within a house from being used in house systems with pressures of over 8.5 inches of water on that system. This is the second reading. There will be the third reading brought to you next meeting.
All right, is there a motion to approve this reading?
So moved.
Lieber with the first
I'll second.
and Boots with the second.
Boots.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Spear.
Yes.
Leeper.
Yes.
McNeil.
Yes.
All right, so then the third and final reading will be at our next council meeting. All right, now down to motions for approval of the claims list. Is there anything in the claims list that needs to be brought out?
I just had a question on the claim. It's to mail finance. It's for postage machine lease payment, and I just wondered the period that payment is for.
Okay, so quarter for that lease payment. Any other discussion items? Seeing there is none, is there a motion to approve the claims list?
I got a question.
Oh, yes.
On number 9, what is this all about? A minor subdivision within 2 miles of the city corporate limits?
Sure. We're not down there yet.
Yeah, it's an agenda item we'll get to, but
Okay, I was just wondering what we have to do with stuff that's in the country.
we're required to address these things when they're within 2 miles of the corporate limits.
Oh, okay.
Anybody subdivides.
All right, so is there a motion to pass this claims list?
Yes.
Anderson with the first and McNeil with the second?
Anderson,
Yes.
Spear,
Yes.
Leeper,
Yes?
McNeil, Boots,
Yes.
All right, so moving on to the second one, which is a public hearing for proposed plans and specs and a form of contract and opinion of probable cost related to the airfield pavement maintenance project. Mr. Wong?
Thank you, Mayor. This is setting the public hearing for April 20. I'm finding my end notes. That will be held prior to bid opening for that pavement maintenance project. And you may recall that this is for the use of the FAA funds, 80% match to do some overlay and repair work. If there are any questions about that work in particular, airport managers in the audience.
I would like to note that on the second page of the notice, it does have a place in there where it has the city of Fort Dodge. I'm assuming they mean the city of Tipton.
Good eye.
yeah, he caught that, and he's gonna have it fixed.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
All right, if there is no further questions, then, and it actually says that Monday, May 1st would be the, here anyway.
Not like that. The notice is, the notice is for April 20, so that would be the day that, it says May 1, sorry, Mayor.
April
Bear
20th
with me
is
a moment.
Thursday.
Double check and make sure we're actually May 1.
Yeah, it is me.
It is May 1. It should be May 1. Thank you, Leon.
What,
Tim, the way I understood it, the bids are to be collected on the 20th, April 20th, and open. You got,
Open, yeah.
you got Jay on the phone?
no,
The bids are, that's right, the bids are opened on the 20th. And
We'll
then,
approve them.
and read aloud, and then approved at the
We
meeting
have a meeting that evening,
on May 1.
and then it'll be presented to you on May 1st.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you,
You
Matt.
understand that? Yeah.
yeah. All right, so the council meeting for this will be on May 1st.
1.
And
As
the
stated.
airport committee is April
Yeah, we
20th.
meet the 20th, April 20th,
Okay,
Right.
and we'll have the bids at that time, and we'll give our recommendation, and you will take that information and do as you please.
all right, thank you. So is there a motion to approve this public hearing on May 1st?
I'll make that motion.
Spear with the first, and McNeil with the second.
Spear,
Yeah.
Leeper,
Yeah.
McNeil,
Yes.
Boots,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
All right, then now to the next one, which is public hearing, form of contract and opinion of probable costs related to a water main project, which will be April 3rd at the Tipton Fire Station. Mr. Long?
That is the Cedar Creek water main project that we brought to your attention before. This is, in fact, if I could just defer to Steve to just briefly describe the project again.
Yeah, this is across from Casey's. It's like 400 and some feet of we have right now a 4-inch cast in there, and this will go to a 6-inch PVC or C900. It goes from a valve that, well, just north of, that's a long block in there. Most blocks are 350 feet. There's a long block in there between 11th and 13th. So it's basically 2/3 of the block.
Isn't this where you said there's like so many patches that?
There's only 8 patches in that spot.
Yeah.
In fact, if we have to patch it in, someplace there's not room for patches, I'd like to take all the patches out and put sticks in. So, and it's one that we've had on the front burner for quite a while. Initially, we thought maybe we could do that ourselves back 2 or 3 years ago, and we decided that was a high priority, but with us taking over the wastewater situation and 2 of my guys going, my 2 top guys and that kind of work are pretty much full-time and other things. This is a contract thing now. So,
Okay.
there's like 8 service lines off of that. And it's also, I'm sorry, you know what, I just had to think something. That's not going back into C900. That's a plume area, and that's going back in as cast iron. Yeah.
All right.
Most of it goes back in C900, but that's a plume area from the previous gas station that was there. So,
All right. So the public hearing will be,
At 5 o'clock. I apologize for that. That came from the engineer, and we missed it until it got in the paper. So all we need are sufficient council members to be here for a quorum at 5 o'clock, and then we'll hold the regular meeting at 5:30. That won't happen again. I apologize.
all right. So is there a motion to approve this hearing at 5 o'clock on Monday, April 3rd?
So moved.
Lieber with the first,
I'll second.
and Boots with the second.
Leeper,
Yes.
McNeil, Boots,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Spear,
Yes.
Okay, so moving to number 4, consideration of approval of the Art in the Downtown proposal. Ms. Beck?
Hello. One thing that the chamber is working on with the destruction of the flower pots is possibly getting some decorative forms of art downtown. And we have been visiting with Jimmy Yankovich about this. I have been in contact with Sheila Lee with the DOT to follow the guidelines if anything goes on Cedar Street, which is Highway 38, and I will collaborate with Tim at some point. But the chamber's just looking to see if that is something we can proceed with. The chamber would be buying the art, so it would not be coming from city funds at all. And I, of course, would, before we would ever have anything brought downtown, is I would get the approval of the council. So it's just, I guess, want to make sure that we're on the right track here.
And this was also something that when we did the walk around town, that
Yes.
was suggested.
Yes, the downtown walk around. Many cities in our state and country, this is what they're doing now. And it's pretty neat, and we've had a really good business meeting with Jimmy so far, and have many ideas. And
Metal art?
excuse me?
Metal art?
Yeah, he would weld a lot of it. We've got many designs that we're having him look at, but again, we would do nothing unless you approve the art that would be going downtown. But I just want to make sure that it's okay that I proceed with this.
Is this kind of art going to be something we can look at and not wonder what it is?
No guarantees.
That's hard.
I'm not throwing myself under any buses.
I remember years ago.
Yeah, you
they
should
said-
be able to recognize what it is. A lot of it is going to have a bike theme, especially since we're going to be getting the 2008 Ray Bride bike ready. So a lot has to do with a bike theme. So, and it is actually really cool what we've looked at so far.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve this
I have
proposal?
one
Oh,
question,
sorry.
Linda.
Yeah.
Like, would he be willing to maybe have us place things until we decide on something that we could see what we like there? And it would probably promote his business.
So you're thinking, we don't approve the plans, we approve the final?
Well, I think we probably have to vote on, would we allow him to place things downtown? And I'm
Right.
certainly supportive of
Right.
that. I'm just saying before the chamber goes out and buys something.
But I would come to you before we buy anything.
I'm just wondering, would he
Yeah, and
want
with
to
the
use it as a
design,
showcase
yes.
for his work?
And then if it happens, which we wanted to, we would have a day where it's revealed and make that a big deal too. Where probably what would happen in this case is, because this kind of art is very expensive, we would have 1 or 2 pieces a year. And not make things junky downtown, but just highlight different things downtown. But in order for me to get it on Cedar Street again, DOT's involved.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Boots with the first,
I'll second.
and Spear with the second.
McNeil? Boots?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yeah.
Leeper?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Stay right here.
And then the next one is Earth Day bike ride with the mayor on April
Yes.
22nd.
I have to give credit where credit's due. Larry Hodgson has done most of the legwork for this. But what this, it's actually turning out to be something that'll be very nice for the city. It's Earth Day. Many vendors are going to be downtown, riding with the mayor, planting trees, going to the community garden. And one thing Larry and I had talked about is to have a registration fee for this, but all the proceeds would go towards the RAGBRAI bicycle. And so, and certainly, I know Larry probably would agree with me, I would never turn a child away if they don't have $3 or something. They would be a part of that as long as they're 10 years old or whatever, that they don't have to be with a parent. But this is a new event that would be in Tipton, and I would have to make sure that we have traffic control from our police department, and I would be handling the money with registration fees and get that back to the city, and then maybe we would have a little pot of money that we can help with the restoration of the 2008 bike.
All right.
Question. Could we, each one of us on the council, provide the fee for at least 2 or 3 kids?
Well, if you would like to do that, we would love that.
Well,
Yes.
I'm speaking for myself, but
If you would like to contact me, I would never, if you would like to contact and give a donation for a child or a couple children, that would be fantastic.
good deal.
And somehow I will let the school know. The flyers will probably be going to the school either tomorrow or Wednesday now. And then I'll get it posted on Facebook. And the schools are instrumental in all of this as well. So I will let them know if a child wants to ride and can't afford to, that it's been covered. Thank you.
All right.
Wait, Linda, does it say what time it is?
Yeah, on your little flyer.
On the
Registration is at
next
10
page.
o'clock and the bike ride begins at 11. And it's gonna take a little bit of time, and I think there'll be enough vendors downtown that that'll be fun for the kids too. And Walmart is donating water. We're gonna have a little packet for everybody, and then I'm gonna get some fruit for the kids and whoever, the adults as well. At the end of the bike ride, they'll have that.
All right. Is there a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Leaper with the first and Boots with the second.
Boots?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil?
Thank you.
Thank you. And now on to number 6, which is the contract for park improvements near the football field. Low bidder was Triple B Construction in the amount of $50,884.
Thanks, Mayor. This is a result of the bids that came in. You have the tabulation of the, there we go, of the 3 bidders. The low bid was just about $1,000 under the engineer's estimate, and the engineer did recommend approval of that low bid. And just for your information, the project cost is split with the school district, and it's broken out by line item. $28,941 of the cost is the city's cost. $21,943 is school district expense. And they have been in concurrence with this project since the beginning. So that's the bid and the recommendation.
All right. Any questions? Is there a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Spear with the first and McNeil with the second.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Lieber,
Yes.
McNeil, Boots.
Yes.
All right, so number 7, which is consideration of authorization to submit an application for state revolving loan funds for the stormwater improvement study, or from that, sorry.
Yeah, so I'm Alex Potter with McClure Engineering. My company's been working with the city here for the last year or so on the stormwater and sanitary sewer study. Just to recap, we gave a presentation in the public forum back in February where we talked about kind of the recommendations from our study. The first phase of recommendations was approximately $4 million worth of storm sewer improvements. That included sanitary manholes, storm sewer and sanitary sewer rehabilitation, and then a short stretch of hydraulic capacity improvements of sanitary sewer pipe upsizing on Lemon Street. So we got direction after that meeting from Tim to come back to you guys with kind of the next steps. And what we think the next steps are is to take out a second SRF planning and design loan. The city took out a loan back last fall to cover the SCCS, or the sanitary sewer and stormwater work that we did. This next loan is, again, planning and design, so it's 0% interest for up to 3 years. It can be rolled into any other source of permanent financing once the project is designed and ready to be constructed. And it's just a good source of money the city can kind of use and leverage in the short term while we complete the engineering and the planning work for the next phase of the improvements. So the reason we're here is the application is due April 3rd. So with your approval, we can get the application sent off to the Iowa Finance Authority and take the next steps on the project. Assuming everything is approved from the Iowa Finance Authority, the city would have the funds on or around July 1, and then could use that to pay for engineering, environmental, bond council costs, whatever would be necessary for the next phase of work. And one of the other benefits of the SRF program that I wanted to highlight is the sponsored projects. There's been a lot of talk about doing something with stormwater quality, and the SRF program allows you to basically take about up to 10% of the principal that you would pay on a construction loan and use that instead of paying interest on it. You get to use that for a water quality or stormwater improvement project. So that could be anything like permeable pavers, wetland creation, what they call stormwater management best practices. So in addition to doing the sanitary sewer and the storm sewer work, you'd also be able to use that funds on some other green initiatives, so to speak.
All right. Any questions for Alex? Seeing there is none, is there a motion to authorize this application?
So moved.
Boots with the first,
I'll second.
and Spear with the second.
Spear,
Yes.
Lieber,
Yes.
McNeil, Boots,
Yes.
Anderson.
Thank you, Alex. All right, number 8, which is consideration of authorization to accept a quote in the amount of $2,426 for Tommy Liftgate for electric department pickup truck. Floyd?
Excuse me. There should have been some notes in there, the reason why we're wanting to purchase this. A lot of it is safety and workman comp issues. It'll enable the guys to put things in the back of the truck that are very heavy, very awkward to move, instead of trying to pick it up and manhandle it and put it in the back of the truck. We were originally going to put one on the Ford pickup when we got it, and it just never materialized. Clay went out for bids, and I think he contacted, was it 2 or 3, Steve?
Well, I think 3, but he didn't get any response back from a couple of them.
Yeah, we didn't get responses back from 2 of them, so I included an old bid that I did in 2014 for the Ford pickup, kind of give you an idea that they run about that kind of money. The one that was for the Ford pickup, like I say, it was a couple of years ago, and it's not the same lift gate that would be going on the Chevy pickup.
Okay. Are there any questions for Floyd?
The capacity of the old one, you say doesn't have the lifting capacity?
No, we never bought one. We don't have one at all in the fleet. So we were going to, and it just never materialized.
All right. Is there a motion to approve this?
I'll make the motion.
Anderson with the first,
Okay.
and Lieber with the second.
Lieber,
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Luce?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
All right, so that has been approved. And now to number 9, which is consideration of a motion to waive review of the rural minor subdivision plat. Mr. Wong?
Thanks, Mayor. In the state of Iowa, anytime that there is a change in land arrangement or organization within 2 miles of the corporate limits of your municipality, before the county can approve it, it has to submit those plans or changes to the city council for review and consideration. And in this case, it is a minor subdivision, which is it's a subdivision of an individual lot to settle an estate, as I understand it, from the attorney. So in order for the county to be able to move forward with this, they need the city council to approve it so that they can consider it. And it's really as simple as that.
Tim, I was just a little bit confused. I'm looking at the survey that they had here, and I apologize, I meant to look it up today and I didn't get a chance to, but the reason that it's gotta be a minor subdivision is because it had that little lot out of it already,
That's
and now
my
they're splitting it again.
That's my understanding.
Okay. Are there any other questions about this? I can't really tell where it's at either.
South and
Yes, so southeast.
east of town.
But,
It's on 240th Street.
oh, I see it there.
It's out this way.
Okay. All right. If there are no other questions, is there a motion to approve this? McNeil with the first,
I'll second.
and Boots with the second.
McNeil?
Yes.
Luce?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
All right, so that has been approved, and now consideration of a contract for maintenance of the Life Pack monitor defibs by Physio Control. Mr. Ratliff.
We currently have 2 defibrillators and 2 automated CPR devices in our ambulances. I would think it's safe to say that 2 cardiac monitors are used on every single call that we have, and then our automated CPR devices, unfortunately, get used more than what we wish to. There is a section in Iowa code that requires that we do annual maintenance on these devices, and unfortunately, they're expensive to maintain. Typical cardiac monitor costs about $40,000, and these automated CPR devices cost about $25,000. I did some research, and I'm going to tell you I made a mistake when I sent off this information to have it put in the packet. I included doubles in case you guys wanted to see copies of everything, supposedly. The monitors are not, they're not cheap to work on. Physio Control, which is the manufacturer of the product, has offered a couple different solutions for us. In your packet, you'll see per like Pack 15 for a 1-year contract would be $1,551.60. And then for the automated CPR devices is $1,162.50. I had challenged them to see if we went onto a larger agreement, if they would produce any better of a pricing option. And they did come back with a little bit better. For a 4-year contract, we'd be able to bring that price down to, for the cardiac monitors, down to $1,034.40. So we're looking at about $400 per unit savings. And then for the automated CPR devices, we would be looking at $1,550 for 2 units. And I went through and I checked on third-party companies for this, and I'll be straight, I really don't enjoy spending money on these things if we don't have to. All the third-party vendors came back just a little bit less, but the problem is that they don't include software updates. Since these are the active current model, the manufacturer won't provide any software updates to anybody else but them. So it's kind of a catch-22. You can have these monitors serviced elsewhere, but if there's a software update, like one that needs to go on now,
Physio Control will charge you an additional fee, and that fee is usually about $800 per unit. So we can save the money up front by going to a third-party vendor, but we turn around and spend it with the manufacturer instead. I'm not too anxious about that at all. The real ironic thing is, right off the bat, Physio said, by the way, there is a software update due now, in case you want to install. Of course there is. So that's the information I have. Now, both of the contracts offer a 60-day period during them, that if we wanted to get out of them for any reason, we just have to give them a 60-day notice, and the money's prorated. Additionally, if we were to go with a 4-year signing, which is my recommendation, the payments would be annually, so we would not be up front $20,000. We'd just be up front the roughly, I'm adding things on the fly, so forgive me. I want to say roughly about $4,000 every year for the services of these 45,000 every year. Any questions for me on that?
I'm a little bit confused, Fred, when you said both contracts. Are you considering these as two separate for each?
No, I'm sorry, and like I said, I made the mistake on submitting the same contract to you guys twice. There should have been a contract in there for an annual only contract, and then there's one in there for a 4-year contract for both of these. And both the defibrillator and the Lucas devices are on the same contract.
So it's just a time period?
Yeah.
This is the difference in the two? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I was confusing on that.
So I kind of understanding that DXE is almost half of what Physio's bid is.
So for the life pack right there, $1,150 per unit. So there is like a $500 difference per unit. I'd rather go with them, but it's that software update that you have to pay for.
How many software updates do they normally do a year? Could be whatever.
Isn't that the $1 million question?
It is.
If you ask them, they're going to tell you every single time we do software updates every time. I can't get a straight answer out of them on that. The automated CPR devices, nobody else can service them other than Physio. So in my opinion, we're pretty much locked into that one. They've got us over a barrel. Not even the hospitals work on their own automated CPR devices when I call them. DXE or Boundtree or whomever else we can go with. The option is if we went with them, we send them our cardiac monitor. In the meantime, we utilize one of theirs for cross-shipping it. And if there's any additional maintenance that needs to be done, i.e. a software update, then they bill us directly for that software update at their cost. Part of me really says, let's tell Physio off and just do it. But it's going to be my luck the second we do that, the American Heart Association changes the recommendation, and Physio says we need to do a major software update. I don't know if I feel comfortable yet taking that jump. My biggest thing on these Physio contracts is that they give us that 60-day period where we can serve notice that we'd like to exit out of the contract and get a prorated refund for everything else. And that makes me feel a little bit better about it, but at the end of the day, it's your guys' decision. The only other sales pitch for Physio one is that they'll do the maintenance in-house. So their technician comes here if we break it or anything else and take care of it. DXE or any other product generally makes you ship it to them, which I don't think is a big deal unless we have an emergency with one of the units and need to take them to service.
All right.
They're just servicing those during daytime hours, and then extra if it's off hours.
I beg your pardon?
Extra if it's off
I
hours.
don't think so, actually. Nothing in the contracts that I read said anything about it. And when I spoke to the rep, he flat out said, Brad, if you have an issue with it, you call me, we come down and take care of the unit. And the other guys, to give them all credit too, if we have an issue, I insist that we would do a bumper-to-bumper warranty on these, and not just a calibration of the unit. But all of them said if there's an issue, we'll ship you a new cardiac monitor back in. So I don't think there's a big sales pitch for the 24-hour service with them. My biggest thing is these software updates.
Well, it'd be nice to know after a year how many we realize that happened in a year. Because, you know, one software update would still be cheaper.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really ironic. I bet you we do this one, and then it'll probably be another 4 years, knowing my luck, before they do another one. And I'd asked the question about these mechanical CPR devices. How much maintenance are we really doing on this? And they tell me, oh, we do tons of maintenance, blah, blah, blah. Last time I watched them do a couple squirts of oil right here, watch it, calibrate it, life is good, we're done. And a lot of me says, we can do that. Problem is, the second that thing breaks on somebody when we're thumping their chest, I'm not gonna be held responsible for it, and I'd rather look at them and say, this is your fault, right here. I think it's a tremendous liability that we probably wanna wash our hands clean of as fast as we can.
You ever had an agreement with them?
Yeah, we've had an agreement with them in the past, and it expired this year. My big thing was when I was looking at this agreement, I let it lapse, and I held off on physio and made them sweat for a while before we re-signed with them. My reasoning was I didn't like their price tag. So after holding it for a while, they offered us a 15% discount with it, and now I was a little bit more excited about talking to them. And I flat out told them I'm going to bid it out with somebody else before we just jump in with you because your name's on the side of the cardiac monitor.
What did the city do for terms last time? Yearly or 4 years?
No, that part I'm not sure. I think they were yearly, but more. It was an annual agreement.
Does it show how many updates?
No, they just, in the past, my understanding is that the service technician will show up, smile, take the unit out of service, spend the day calibrating it and playing with it, and then they slap their sticker of approval on it when you get it back. It's kind of like me taking my vehicle over to the automotive technician. When I smile, they tell me it's all good to go and I have a great day. And if they speak language to me, I found out there's a rotary girder or something working somewhere else. I don't know anything about it.
All right. Is there a motion to approve either one of these contracts, the 1 year?
Brad? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
What are you recommending, the 1 year or the 4 year?
I think that the 4 years is probably the better way to go. No
But then you're locked in with them without.
You saw the 60-day
There's
exit.
that 60-day exit clause, and that is the only reason why I would recommend it. You get a better discount on the 4 year, and we can still exit out of it at 60
With
days.
no penalty.
That's right. I really like that clause.
Mhm. All right. Then
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve one of these?
I would go with the recommendation for the 4 years, as long as the 60 days we can max it out.
All right, so Boots has made a motion to approve the 4-year maintenance contracts. And McNeil with the second.
Boots,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Spear,
Yes.
Leeper,
Yes?
McNeil.
Yes. All right. Now moving on to number 11, which is it's a code amendment and application process for cafe seating, and there will be a public hearing on April 17th. Mr. Long?
Thanks, Mayor. Last spring, we talked briefly about this idea of making possible the location of cafe seating on a public sidewalk adjacent to, in front of an existing food establishment. And there are a number of cities that we talked about that have this process. We had images from a city in Wisconsin, and then there's the experience up in Cedar Rapids where they have this process as well. In order to make this possible, it requires an amendment to the city code. An amendment to the city code requires a public hearing, and what we're asking here of you tonight is to consider authorizing that public hearing for the April 17 meeting, and we'll bring some draft documents to you in that packet on the subject.
Are there any applications so far?
No, this is purely been a council-led discussion. I'm not sure what businesses downtown have approached, but it really is part of your overall goal to enhance the downtown experience. This provides that one of those opportunities.
All right, if there is no more discussion on that, then, motion to approve the hearing. Anderson with the first,
I'll second.
and Spear with the second.
Anderson,
Yes.
Spear,
Yes.
Lieber,
Yes.
McNeil, Boots.
Yes.
Thank you.
Alright, so April 17th at 5:30 will be the public hearing on that. And now to the discussion items, which will have no action. Report on refuse and recycling expenses for the city of Tipton and other towns nearby. Mr. Long?
Thank you, Mayor. We have a table here, a couple of tables here that Public Works has assembled over the last month. I did not get a summary put together on this, but you can see comparable communities' costs of refuse. This is all started as last year we looked at the cost of recycling, and we're considering the potential for a rate increase to cover that cost and began to explore other alternatives to that. The one thing you can see is that from the survey is that currently we're near the high end of cost for refuse pickup. Cities have, there are cities in this list that do their own pickup, and there are cities that contract out. And in addition to us looking at these costs and trying to find ways to pare them back, actually Steve and Eldon have done some background research and have learned a few things about what other communities are doing to hold costs down. And we talked in the past about cutting recycling to every other week or twice a month as a way to cut down that operating cost, and talked about other ways we could make some improvements in-house. And we talked about the possibility of looking at quoting out to see what pricing we might get. With that, I'll defer to Steve and or Eldon to answer questions on their findings and give it a little more insight.
Eldon might be the better person to answer the questions. He did a lot of great research on this, talked to a lot of communities, and he and I both went to Iowa City and met with, we kind of horned in on their meeting actually, and we found out that they were having a meeting, and we showed up, and they said, well, we didn't invite you. I said, yeah, I know, but we came anyway. So they were glad to see us though, and we knew some people there, and it was interesting. They are experiencing exactly the same thing we are, the same thing at Bettendorf and in Scott County. I read a little more about that today actually, and how that all worked out, and they had a lot of help, outside help, getting that whole thing in place. One thing from a positive standpoint, our last bill from Republic, we talked about them being at $65 a ton, and they give us a credit of $26.50, so it's only costing us $38.50 a ton up there. And if we went to Bettendorf, that was going to be starting at, I believe, at $85 a ton, and was going to maybe kick us back $20, so it'll be back down to 65. We haven't been hurt big time yet. Let me just say it that way. You may remember too, we did go out for, you approved us buying more totes and recycled totes, the bigger ones. And they might not be here till May, June, but we're still pursuing that idea, that concept of cutting our expenses by doing one half of the town 1 week and the other half the next week, as far as the recycling goes. On the downside, the garbage truck broke again today, and we had to have another part flown in overnight from Alabama. And as luck would have it, once in a while we get lucky. The Mechanicsville truck was driving by our shop, going back to Mechanicsville, and I called up there and they said, yeah, you can come and get it. So we did finish up the route today with the Mechanicsville truck. That's kind of an ongoing challenge. The age of the truck is only around 4 years old, going on 5. But electrical components in that atmosphere and controls, when there's electrical or hydraulic, and a lot of switches and a lot of relays, things go south with that. It has nothing to do with operator error or anything like that. It's just the nature of the beast. But it's a nice relationship we have with Mechanicsville right now. So we are probably gonna keep up with garbage and recycling this week. It's something that every week we wonder if we're gonna get through the week. But we haven't gone as far as, I wanna say, really pushing for an outside vendor to take over or anything like that. That's another discussion, and that's gonna be based on a lot of numbers and how the community feels and what we really wanna do in the city of Tipton. We do feel really fortunate. We've got Clay in a great shop, and he can get it fixed. If he can get the parts, he can get it fixed. There's no doubt in my mind. And last time, if you remember, he was on vacation. That was a perfect storm. So, questions on, let's see. Oh, and here's another thing that we're kind of waiting for, the West Liberty plan as well. They got a very nice grant down there to put up a recycling center of some sort that would be a regional kind of thing that they would feed Bettendorf with. The Bettendorf facility was expanded this last year or so to the tune of like $11 million, and doubled their capacity, and they'll take everything except plastic bags and styrofoam. They'll take glass. So that's a whole new ballgame. So there are some people a lot smarter than me figuring this out. We're just reporting back. Questions on anything? And Eldon has a lot of insight because he talked to everybody. But Pam?
Well, I see on here that Lynn County pays Mount Vernon. Yeah, we want in.
I don't know. There's Mount Vernon has got an interesting situation up there.
I guess, they get 7,000.
City manager is real creative up there.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Eldon, you want to speak to that? They have a different deal up there, don't they?
Yeah, and I just got numbers and the process, not why. They didn't, Chris didn't explain to me why they do that. But obviously Cedar Rapids took on all of their recycle or garbage and everything. Their quantities would be overloading their facility more so. So I don't know how they came about the agreement, but that's what happened. And I don't know how long it's been going on. I didn't get that information either.
From what I saw, I don't think there's any two agreements that are the same. And it's just all over the place.
Yeah, everybody's different, but it's pretty sporadic.
Would Chris give us his contact person, thing we could call?
Yeah, we tried that.
Oh.
I really don't know what to say other than that I think as a result of what Eldon found out, there are probably more communities farming their stuff out than doing it in-house by quite a bit. Now, I'm not saying that's the right thing for us. I think I've talked to a lot of people here in town that like the fact that we're doing it, we've got our own thing going here.
Well, I think when we did our study, it kind of showed us we might have 2 years of some reduced rates, but after that, we were at their mercy.
Yeah. Any other questions that, it's, you know, I don't know if you remember this, some of you don't remember this, but my backup guy. Is, a couple, 3 years ago, we talked about even maybe expanding the operation to do commercial as well. Maybe that, a bigger operation might be more efficient. We would then have to have 2 trucks and 2 drivers, and we would always have a backup truck in-house. And that's why we got those 15 big containers that we could use as commercial dumpsters versus Waste Management's big metal ones. We thought that might be a possible way to make it more sustainable. And it could. I still believe it could. I've got that right up yet if anybody wants to look at it. That might be something you want to talk about, or you know, you can go completely the other way and say, okay, let's just wash our hands of everything and let Waste Management do it all. So I'm just here to report and we can pursue whatever. Anything else, Ellen?
One thing's for sure, there's so many variables about this situation that have to be looked at. And there's so many different things we can change, or, you know, whether it's the fees or every other week pickup, or, you know, taking on commercial, and residential. I mean, there's a lot of different angles at it, but it's gonna be an investment. Or the one thing to think about is if we do wash our hands of it and we let go of it, it's gonna be a lot more difficult to get back into it if we want to. But I apologize for being poorly prepared. I didn't have any notes or any information. But if you have any questions regarding any of this after the meeting or this week or whatever, feel free to get in touch with me. But the West Liberty facility, I know, would be a big game changer, I think. In theory, we could go to West Liberty and see what happens. So the travel time, the time, the money, the fuel, the maintenance, and small changes like every other week of pickup, as far as maintenance fees and stuff like that go, it might be a big game changer for us, I guess. And it was weird, through communicating with a lot of people, the DNR haven't communicated with a lot of people, and made grants or helped financially bring many people, but, they are reaching out now to people and talking to them, and that's another avenue we can take too, is discussing things with them, even, and I don't know what options we would have, but, they realize that as far as recycling goes, there's a lot of people out there that are trying to monopolize the whole industry on that, and they're trying to get away from that and make it more affordable for people, so that's something we can look into there too.
The one big card that we have that a lot of communities don't is we've got a shop that can fix stuff. And I know a lot of these communities, they don't have that ability, and that would be a big reason to get out of the game. Because if you can't keep it rolling, it's not gonna work. Questions?
I've seen waste management here in town, they pick up at the senior park and different places around town. Who pays them?
We pay them, we get a monthly bill from them, we bill the customers. We get a 7% handling fee on that to pay our office staff.
8%.
8%, I'm sorry, thank you. They're worth 8%, more than that actually. Yeah, but it didn't used to be that way though until Chris was here. Chris Nodovich, I think, changed all that, which was a great thing. Because we needed, our girls in the office would spend a lot of time dealing with garbage issues. And we needed to be compensated for that. And Chris brought that into play for us. But before that, we were just doing it, we were doing their bookwork for them. But that's kind of where that's where it's at now. And we do give them about $130,000 a year, I think, or $132,000 last year.
10, 11,000 a month.
10, 11,000 a month.
With the city.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So. We done?
All right, yes.
Questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, moving on to the next discussion item, which is the OP. Floyd?
Okay, I'm gonna bore you with a spreadsheet a little bit.
Did you?
I think so.
Is there a reason?
So we get up at the
Okay,
school run first,
not a
right?
very good one.
Wait for a
Yeah, it is.
Fairbanks Morse OP engine rebuild, this was, should have been on in your packets.
Yes.
Currently, we have talked to another vendor, and it was Cypress Engines. And this is their inspection sheet that they would want us to follow if we do rebuild the OP. In your packets, there were 2 quotes. We've had 4 different companies come and look at it. One of them was Fairbanks Morse. They gave us a quote. The other one was Cypress Engines. The other 2 just failed to give us any feedback or any quotes. So basically, we've just got the 2 quotes. Try to find that here. Other one. I go past it.
You're not there yet. There we go.
Okay. With Cypress Engines, the difference between their quote and the quote that we got from Fairbanks Morse is they are actually taking into account to rebuild the blower and the turbochargers. So the quotes, as far as monetary value, are very close to being the same. I think this quote here is for $353,952.60 from Cypress. And the quote from Fairbanks Morse of course I went the wrong way. And the Fairbanks Morse total quote was I know this is quite worn, of course. Yeah, I think I did.
It's 353.
What's that?
Is that-
Okay, this is for some of the parts, it was 23,104. And then here's 261,589. And then there's a quote from Bill Hilger for another 40,000 in there, so that brings the grand total up to about $328,000. Now I realize that the contract or the bid from Cypress is $25,000 higher, but that does take into account that they feel that the turbos and the blowers need to be rebuilt. That's their professional opinion. If you go up and look at the Cypress quote, it will show that. So then as we continue, I'm gonna go to the spreadsheet that I have on the engines. On April 4th, I have a meeting or a conference call with MISO, our engineer, RPGI, and ITC. And at that time, we're going to find out what other hoops are that remain to get accreditation for all the engines that we have that run right now. Right now, we're getting paid $115,248 in capacity credits for our engines. Where you see my pointer at right now, that is where I hope to be within the next 3 months, is at $359,212.14. So that's going to a little bit more than triple what we were getting in capacity credits before. So now if we fix the OP, if you go down on this sheet, down just one line, once the OP's running, we'll get to $420,952.14. But we'll have to jump through these hoops again. When I sat down and put a pencil to it with the cost of the overhaul and everything else, it's going to be about 6.5 years to get payback on that. I think it's very viable. I think it's very feasible to expect that. And I know that Brian had sent me an email and asked about, what are the maintenance costs going to be? The maintenance costs are basically going to be, we need to follow a schedule that Cypress gave us right here. Some of this stuff is required every 100 hours or annually. And I'd say the majority of it is 100 hours or annually. It's annually? Okay. With that being said, it's probably going to take 1 or 2 employees, probably, when you say a week, Tanya, to go through all of this.
5 to 8 days, yes.
So with that being said, we'll have that cost. Mandatory things that will have to be done irregardless is that every year we'll have to do oil test samples. And the oil test samples will determine when we change the oil. The maximum we can go is 10 years on that engine and the other 2 engines in the old power plant. And then we'll change it 10 years irregardless of what the oil test program says, unless it asks us to do it sooner. Then it's just, it's just normal maintenance. We're going to be running the engine more. It's got to get more exercise than what it currently has. This was something I, was somewhat overlooked in the past, and this will be a remedy. And I think that the engine will last. It'll last longer than most of us in this room will. I think you could expect another 20 to 30 years out of it if it is maintained correctly. That's the key. We have to maintain this correctly.
Amen.
And with that being said, there will be costs. But the important thing is that we all know that we have to maintain this. So hopefully, a year from now, I'd like to be standing up here and saying, wow, we're getting $420,000 in capacity credits. And that really helps our cash flow situation with the electric utility. So with that being said, I don't know if anybody has any questions or anything. If I can't answer it, Tanya probably can.
Floyd, I have a question.
Yes.
We installed that cat, and installed it for the $712,000.
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking at half that to repair an old engine.
Mm-hmm.
What are the chances that we could do another cat project for a better engine than repair an old one?
That's a good question. One of the things about this old engine is that Fairbanks Morse believes in this engine. This engine was designed in the 30s. They still support this engine. This engine they're still currently using in ships, boats, trains. The cost that would be involved in taking one of the engines out would almost negate doing that. It's a perfectly good engine, in my opinion, and I'm sure that I can find others who will agree with me that these are very good engines. And properly maintained, this engine should last the city of Tipton another 20 to 30 years. The Fairbanks Morse, like I say, it's an engine that is, I could call Fairbanks today and say, I need two sleeves for it, and we'll get them. And I understand the cat is a newer design. The fuel consumption is real close to being the same. It's the cost of removing something that we already have. Eventually, we will talk about at a later date, removal of one of the CPs and cannibalizing it for parts for the other one. That's gonna be later down the road. But that, and then when we go to do that, we'll talk about our options. I know what my dreams are and what I would like to see happen, but, you know, it depends upon the future of Tipton, what we all see happening.
So the OP isn't one that you have difficulty getting parts
Oh,
for?
No.
They are available 24/7.
Yeah.
The Chicago pneumatics are the ones that are difficult to find parts because they haven't been in production in a long
Since
time.
78.
You know, we made 10 of them to start with, and we ended up with 3. We had the 7 or somewhere in the.
Yeah, I should refer to them as a Chicago pneumatic or Fairbanks Morse, because we start throwing around the CP or the OP, and it is kind of confusing, and I'm sorry about that, but,
So even with the age of the Fairbanks Morse,
Yeah.
the parts are still available?
yes. Matter of fact, Duran is even talking about, they want to get another high-speed engine. They talk like they might sell theirs. So if that's the case, when we go down, and well, I ain't gonna buy it, I'm gonna go down there and I'm gonna cannibalize everything I can get off of it if they do that. Yep, it's just like ours, except it's not a, it's a series unit if I remember right, isn't it? And ours is a parallel unit. Other than that, those are the differences, but there's a lot of stuff we could use off of it. But like I say, I hope to be here in a year saying that, wow, we're getting $420,000, that feels great.
Yeah, that would definitely be good. All right, thank you, Floyd. And now moving on to our final discussion item, the GIS program update from the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor.
That will be.
Let things settle down here.
Thank you, Tommy. You're not at the end.
Point a little bit to the right. All right, so, since I started here a little over a year ago, it's been brought to my awareness that the city started down the path to developing and preparing a GIS program, which is a geographical information system that would allow the city to digitize its infrastructure, its roadways, all of its infrastructure, electrical, water, sewer, and gas, and make that readily available and easily updated at any time. And Mr. Last had pointed out in a note that you may have all gotten today, that this has been an ongoing project for a long time. I think I commented a couple of weeks ago that when I had, in other cities I've been at that implemented these programs, the tendency was to hire an engineering firm that did this kind of work and just pay to get it done. And the cost is not inexpensive because you're paying engineering level staff north of $80 to $100 an hour to do it. Tipton's opted to minimize that, and one of the results of that has been that every time you've had a manager who implemented or wanted to implement this program and the council authorized moving forward, then there's been a change of manager. And first it was Doug, who, as I understood, started this program a number of years back, and then Doug moved on, and Chris Nosbich started, and amongst other things, Chris was working with us around the side and the edges. And then you had the year of tumult, and then Chris moved on, and then I showed up. And it has not been on my list of priorities to deal with over the past year, but we have continued to sort of plod along until recently, when I asked Steve Nash to please pick this up, and he's worked with Connie and Lorna and ITP to get it moving again. And so I'd asked Steve to prepare just a brief summary report on that matter, and I'd like to ask Steve to give his report, and I understand Mr. Lash has some questions, and so if we could have Steve do, just present the report you gave to council, answer council questions directly, and then Mr. Lash, give yours.
I don't have that actually in front of me. And I can't read this. Thank you. I can read this, thank you. Just as, a brief update, and I wrote to the council, we're moving forward with the implementation of the CC software program that includes all of our city utilities and the Masonic Cemetery. Some of the challenges during this project included changes at City Hall and administration, the hiring of 2 new billing clerks, the recording of each headstone at the cemetery, and computer issues. This has all taken a lot of time. Let me back up just a little bit before I read on. Part of this process, initially, we went after this because we were given the responsibility of the cemetery. Our cemetery section at the time had quit, and Public Works inherited the cemetery. We didn't have enough to do at that point, so I figured we could do that. Well, we just had handwritten cemetery notes, and that really doesn't cut it, and we don't even know how accurate these things are in the book. So we proceeded to go out there and record, make a map, record every headstone. We have gotten Don Drager, perfect job for Don because he was really intense on details, and it just would fit him well, and he did that for a year. He didn't quite finish the cemetery. There was several sections left. Pam and I have spent quite a bit of time out there recording 3 or 4 sections as well. There's 3 sections left in the old part of the cemetery. 4,500 plus gravestones to record out there. After that first year, and things shuffled around at City Hall, and we knew we weren't going to get the cemetery done. We decided, well, let's just work on the cemetery. We'll get that done, and then we'll get this whole thing together with all the other utilities. We thought we could do that in a year, but that was very optimistic on our part. Like I say, we're ready to implement now. We've got all of our utilities, our gas, electric, water, wastewater, all of our records from Gardner Associates have gone to Newcom, and most of the cemetery has gone to Newcom. So we're ready to put that in. Friday, we got the computer installed at City Hall. Tony Hurd, our ITP guy, and Ken Denlow, our Newcom contact, are going to team together to get that program, or Chase, one of the 2 out there, are going to get that program on our computer and get it so that we can utilize it. I'll finish this last paragraph then. It says, at this point, we're installing the computer at City Hall today, and that will operate the system. This will be a separate unit outside of our server, which will include 4 licenses. The city manager, the administrative assistant, Connie at the police department, Public Works, and then Gas Electric will all have access to the data and can update the maps as they change. Newcom Technologies will be working with our tech contractor, ITP, to install and set up the program. Included with the package will be a day of training for up to 8 to 10 employees. And I know there's at least 8 of us that need that training. So we do look forward to the conclusion of this project, and I think we can better serve the public with this. One of the advantages I see of this is that if we have all of our information on one computer screen, it is feasible for one person to go out and locate all of our utilities on a one-shot deal, have all that. And I know that gas has to do their own, so that might be something that we want to talk about. But down the road, I think we'll be much more efficient with this whole thing. We do have the ESRI license this year paid for. We do have a proposed contract with Newcom to finish up as soon as we get it installed, that we can work with. It is in the budget, kind of, no?
The licenses and what have you, isn't it?
Yeah, so, we did,
Each department, each one has to have their license renewed annually.
yeah. So, it is split up between the departments. The biggest share of that, the cemetery piece of that initially was $8,000. That's a huge software deal. It also has the capability of, down the road if we wanted to, and we won't have the time to do it, but you can even go in there and take pictures of each tombstone, each headstone, and put it on the program so that you know exactly what you're looking for. The public will have access to that. They can go in. We hope to have that as a read-only at the library, for example. You can go in and research, find out by name, there's all kinds of ways you can search it. But it's going to be a really neat program. I feel bad that it's taken this long, but we have, when Don was doing that, and then the next year, two employees from Public Works retired, and we weren't hiring back, there's not enough time to do everything. But we did, like Ken said, we weren't anxious to shell out $10,000 or $12,000 either for somebody else to do it for us. And it looked like we could do it in-house at the time. Things changed. Personnel changed. Questions on any of that?
Hopefully, we also want at the cemetery to be able to have the map displayed out there in a kiosk building that will be erected out there.
And I want to publicly thank Pam for the time that she spent on this whole thing, not only out in the cemetery, but in Connie's office as well, putting this on a digital, or whatever you do in the office. Questions on where we're at on that? I really am anxious to see this come to a conclusion.
Okay, your 1 year thing, I think you better have a multiplier of 10. Being realistic on GIS. It takes a long time and there's a lot of data to attach to a map. So what's your base map or your aerial photos? Gotta have a base map or an aerial photo.
UConn's taking care of all that, and they've been in contact with Cedar County.
Okay, well, good chance you might use a Cedar County aerial photo.
I'm sure that's
It's
the
a
case.
very, very, very high resolution.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what you're using.
And my next question was gonna be what coordinate system are you using? There's a lot of coordinate systems out there.
I'm trusting the people that do that for a living on that one. I don't know.
Cedar County, I think they use Iowa State Plains South NAD 83. How about your CAD system? CAD is a computer-aided design. That's your drawings. You're going to have to draw a lot of stuff and then convert it to work in the Esri products. You just don't draw something on paper. You draw it on the computer, and you have to convert it to Esri. Now I've been using AutoCAD since '87, and I've been working with maps since '97.
If I remember correctly, Carol, I think it's going to be ArcView.
ArcView?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Does that sound right, Steve?
That sounds right.
Yeah,
what-
that's all right.
What software are you going to use to create all your different databases?
That's totally new comms. That's what we,
That's
Excel,
ESRI.
Access,
Which
DBase.
don't know, that would be something we're relying on Newcom for.
And another thing I highly recommend is you've had a lot of different engineering firms do a lot of work. You want to get all them electronic files and paper files here. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel if you change engineering firms.
Right, that's understood with all the engineering firms we're working with.
Okay? And the thing about GIS, you was talking about the photos with the cemetery. Everything can be scanned, everything can be linked to a map, and if you get everything done, you just pick on the map, and up pops whatever that you're linked to, You never have to open a drawer, you never have to get out a set of plans. You can have all the history of your streets, you can have your, design of your streets. And you don't have to go to a computer file to look at something, because it's all gonna pop up. But there's a lot of work to scanning stuff and linking stuff. You just don't do it overnight. That's why I say you better look like 10 years of getting this stuff done.
I think it's gonna be an ongoing project for a long time.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and that's,
And the final thing is when you start down this avenue, you get together with a few people and decide exactly what you want to do and how you want to do it. Because maybe your idea is not going to work, but somebody else will have a better idea. And the other thing is, when you start down that avenue, do a few things and beta test it and make sure it works. It does exactly what you want before you complete the whole thing. And then say, oh, we got to do this over again. That's not what I wanted.
Okay.
How long does a professional firm take to do this?
When, in my background, it's been 6 months to a year, but the cost I remember was north of $80,000, and that's 10 years ago. And you could certainly find a number of firms that would, either McClure or I expect even Garden would be able to quote on doing that implementation. It still takes a lot of interaction from in-house staff to get the right information to the engineer. And, this again is one of those cases of, no good deed goes unpunished. We tried to save money by doing it in-house and to learn it ourselves, but the outcome is that with, personnel changes and other things getting in the way, it tended to fall off the front burner. So, yeah, it is possible to get someone to get more engaged in the process, but it seems to me right now we're pretty close to accomplishing what was originally set out, and I'm not sure if we really gain any time right now by handing it all to someone else, who had a fiscal goal in getting it done and getting paid.
I don't think we need to have a survey grade for locating our utilities, for locating valves and...
Well, we do have a Trimble unit that will locate to within parts of a tenth of a foot.
Yeah.
It is a survey grade unit.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
The other thing is you got drawings, and I'll guarantee you those drawings not going to fit the real world.
We've kind of learned that.
We've experienced that.
We've learned that. In fact,
Okay.
we've been in just a couple of drawings.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that's the reports. Oh.
Thank you.
Mayor's report, I do not have anything this week. Council?
I just had, Sedco met on March 14th. He had a guest speaker, his name was Jason Kemp, and he was with Home Base Iowa, so he's trying to kind of introduce that program to Cedar County and see if they will be interested in doing that. I think it's got some potential. Obviously, Cedar County needs to do some work on housing if they're going to bring young vets and their families in here. There's got to be affordable housing for them. So some things that need to be looked at. They also are looking for the cities and the county to put up incentives to bring them here. So that may be something in the future we're asked to look at. So also they're working on their 501(c). That status is ongoing. They did approve their fiscal year 2018 budget. I did note that Durant and Loudon are no longer members, and so they were operating on a little bit of a deficit for this next budget. So hopefully that's not an ongoing thing that they're constantly tapping into their reserves. They hope to bring those towns back on board to get that back up to where it needs to be. They are assisting Clarence with doing their downtown assessment like Tipton did. So, and they're still planning to put on a business plan workshop seminar, but they don't have a date on that yet. And then the last thing, I think that Linda's maybe mentioned this, but they're working on, with ECIA toward getting an Iowa Great Places designation for future grant opportunities.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Boots. Committee, city manager?
Thanks, Mayor. Just to announce the obvious, we've all been steadily working toward getting me out of a job. You've got your manager interviews coming up very, very quickly. We're working on a couple of significant code enforcement issues that I think will start to move a little more swiftly. And I just like to compliment the finance department at working at the transition. It's been a delight to see Melissa and Laura working together and her picking up a lot of tips, information, and going out of her way to learn the job. It's pleasing to see. I'd like to back up what Leanne just said, the import of a Cedar County sort of regional look at development. I think it's much better than having a balkanized cities running around all trying to do their own thing, because as you know, you don't just live in one city, you live in a region, and if the region is together on its development plans, it just works better. So I think it's a good thing, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Department heads? All right, is there a motion for adjournment? Boots with first, then Lieber with second.
Spear.
Yes.
Lieber.
Yes.
McNeil. Boots.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes. Meeting is adjourned.
I got paid for the last time. Oh, I just teased it, yeah.